Pilgrim and Friends. It is May 10th. You guys, I can't believe it. Easter was way back on April 12th, almost a month ago, 4 whole weeks. But here we are, still talking about it. When we last left off, Jesus had risen from the dead. He had been seen by several people like Mary Magdalene and Cleopas and another disciple on the road to Emmaus. Word was spreading. People were hearing these things, these sightings. There were questions and there was hope. And remember, there were still people, many people in the town that would want to arrest the followers of Jesus. So imagine how the disciples were feeling, maybe a little confused, nervous, still scared, still sad. They were still mourning the loss of their friend and uncertain about the future. So they were huddled in hiding together in a room. Let's join them there by reading what the Bible says in John chapter 20, verses 19 through 20. That Sunday evening, the disciples were meeting behind locked doors because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders. Suddenly, Jesus was standing there among them. "Peace be with you," he said. As he spoke, he showed them the wounds in his hands and his side. They were filled with joy when they saw the Lord. Oh my goodness, of course. I bet they were excited. Finally, they could see Jesus again. They had missed him so much, and it was good to see that the stories that they had been hearing were true. Now we're going to jump ahead a couple of verses because guess what? One of the disciples was not with them in that room at that time when Jesus appeared. That disciple's name is Thomas, also known as Didymus. And because he was not there, he didn't get to see Jesus like everybody else did. Now, we don't know why Thomas wasn't there, but missing that meeting has led to Thomas's name becoming very famous in connection to doubt. Maybe you've heard of the term doubting Thomas. Don't be a doubting Thomas. Of course we can do it. Doubt is when you don't believe something. I might say that I can do a handstand, and you might not believe that. You would doubt it. And there's probably a good chance that I can't do a handstand, so it's good to doubt it. But there are plenty of things that we do not need to doubt because Jesus and God can do all things. So let me go back to the Bible. We're going to read still from John chapter 20, verses 24 through 29. One of the disciples, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, was not with the others when Jesus came. They told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he replied, "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds in his hands, put my fingers into them, and place my hand into the wound in his side." All right. Now time passes. 8 days later, the disciples were together again, and this time Thomas was with them. The doors were locked, but suddenly, as before, Jesus was standing among them. "Peace be with you," he said. Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. Look at my hands. Put your hand into the wound in my side. Don't be faithless any longer. Believe." "My Lord and my God," Thomas exclaimed. Then Jesus told him, "You believe because you have seen me. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me." That's us, you guys. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me. We've never seen Jesus with our very own eyes, but we believe in him. We are blessed. But Jesus is very understanding. He didn't criticize Thomas. He didn't nag at him or make him feel bad for needing to see the wounds with his own eyes. Jesus understands that we have a hard time believing too sometimes. So my translation, this Bible is written in the New Living Translation, and there's lots of different translations of the Bible. And this one says, "Don't be faithless any longer, believe." But several other translations, including the New International Version, say, "Stop doubting and believe." I like that a little bit better. Stop doubting and believe. It's easier to say, And it's easier said than done, right? Especially 2,000 years later. Don't you sometimes wish that Jesus would appear before you in the flesh, finally causing your faith to become sight? And someday we will all have that moment when we see him in heaven, but we're not going to rush that. In the meantime, we have his word, the Bible, and his promises to hang on to when we struggle with doubt. How gracious of God to give us such a good example in the Bible of someone who doubted. We never have to worry that God will be angry or frustrated with us when we doubt. Thomas shows us that when we bring our doubts to Jesus, Jesus gently responds, "Here I am. Stop doubting and believe." Oh, I forgot. Let me get some supplies here. Let's see. Got to keep you and me safe. Got my mask. Got my hand sanitizer. And I have my disinfectant, my isopropyl alcohol. So what am I keeping you safe from? Well, I'm sure you've seen and heard a lot in the news or from the people around you lately about the coronavirus. It's all around the world, and it's even here in our own communities, and that can be a little bit scary, can't it? But that is why we're taking extra precautions. We're wearing masks in public. We're staying at home as much as we can, keeping 6 feet apart, and washing those hands. Now, we can't pass the virus through the computer screen, so that was just an example of the tools that we are using to protect ourselves and others. But there are many people who have gotten sick and even some who have died. So why am I talking about this? The virus is something you can't see with your eyes. It's very tiny, and it's possible to spread it without even realizing it. Think about later we're going to work with some paint. Think about if we've got the paint on our hands and we go and touch a doorknob, we're going to leave paint on that doorknob. And then the next person that touches that doorknob is going to get paint on them. But the virus we can't see. We can see the paint. Oh, I'm not going to touch that doorknob because there's paint on it. But we can't see the virus, right? So we know what the virus does because we've seen and heard about its effects that it has had on people. So when we do other things like keeping things clean, protecting ourselves through washing our hands and using sanitizer, we're trying to protect ourselves and others that way. And we can't see all of those protective things in our cleaning supplies either. But we trust that they are killing germs and helping us. So how does that connect to our story about Thomas today? Well, it's believing without seeing. We do not have to see the virus to believe in it. We do not have to see the disinfectant work to believe in it. We haven't seen Jesus on earth, and we can't see God with our eyes, but we believe in them, and that gives us joy and hope. Even when things are uncertain, we don't know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future. We know that God is in control. We can't see the virus, and that's scary, but we have the tools to protect us. Our masks, washing our hands, and having faith in God. God is much greater than sickness, sin, and even death, and he loves us so much that he sent his son Jesus to die, to defeat all of that. God's love conquers and casts out fear. We must still be careful and keep ourselves clean and safe, but we trust that God is in control. We haven't seen Jesus, but we know the effect his work has on us, and we can do his work for others in the world around us. Believe it. Alrighty, friends. My craft for you today, we can do it in 2 ways. The first way is less messy. So we're going to do that first. So I have taken a piece of construction paper and I folded it in half. And I'm going to place my hand on the construction paper so that my pinky finger, so that it opens like a book, And so that my pinky finger is on the fold, not on the open end. And I'm going to make sure that part of my hand part is also on the fold. So I'm going to spread my pinky so that there's parts not touching my hand and parts that are. And I'm going to trace my hand. And so you may need an adult to do this to help you out here. I'm going to trace my hand, and bear with me while I trace it. I'm tracing with a pencil so that marker doesn't get all over my hand. And this is definitely something that you could get some help with. And I'm going to round out the bottom of the hand. See how I rounded? I didn't just slice along the bottom straight. So that it looks more like a hand, and I don't know if you can see the very thin pencil mark, but I'm going to then cut it out. Now, when I cut it out, I'm going to be careful. Notice I left the pinky on the fold, and I have part of my palm near the fold too. So I'm not going to cut that part. I'm going to cut a little bit of the part that wasn't touching the fold. Okay. So see how I took a little bit out, but I'm going to keep some of the palm on there. And then I'm going to go around where I traced. Can you see that? You might not be able to see the line I'm following, but you can tell that I am following around my fingers that I had traced. And there's my thumb. Okay, going up another finger. Now this might be really tricky for some of my younger friends to do too, but let me tell you, it's good practice to learn with the scissors. So if you want to do one that comes out beautifully and perfectly, then you can get an adult in your house to cut one out. But you know what? I kind of want you to use children's scissors and try one of your own, just so that you can get some practice, especially since we're not in school, you guys. Oh my gosh, we are missing out on so much time practicing with these tools, and those skills with our hand-eye coordination and gross motor skills are really important. So look, I cut it out, and then this side's a little different, see? So can you see? So it looks like open hands, big, fat, beefy hands. So these aren't our hands. These are going to be Jesus's hands. And I forgot one supply. Hang on one. Okay, guys, I had just forgotten to get a crayon. So if these are Jesus's hands, what do we need to make them look like Jesus's hands that Thomas was looking for? Yeah, you can put a dot on the palm. Now I've got a purple crayon here that I'm going to put a dot. Maybe here, I'll use a red too. Maybe you want a red dot. I've got one red, one purple. All right. And I want you to put with that some message from our story today. So you could use Jesus's words like stop doubting and believe, or you could use Jesus's words, blessed are those who believe without seeing me, or you could use Thomas's words, my Lord and my God. So I want you to trace your hands, cut them out, make sure they stay connected at points, put the dots on it, and then you can attach with some glue your message. Mine says, stop doubting, believe. And so this will remind you of Jesus, and Thomas is doubting, but then not doubting anymore because he saw. And because he saw, we can believe. Okay, so the other way is messier. This involves paint. So here I have a blank sheet of paper, and I am going to fold it in half like a book again, because it's easier to fold it now than to try to fold it when we have paint on our hands, okay? So this might not work for your family. You might not be allowed to do this, and that's okay. But maybe they're adventuresome and we'll give it a go. So now when I open this up, it's a book. So we're going to do our hand like this. So when you open the book, you're going to do it on the page that you would read, not the cover, okay? And I'm going to use some blue paint. Oh. Okay, so I don't have red paint. So if you want, you could even, I'm going to paint my hand, you guys. If you want, you could even put a dot of red paint or some other color paint in the middle. I don't have any other color paint. So what I would do is I would just wait for it to dry and then add with crayon or another paint the dot. Because again, these aren't our hands, these are Jesus's hands. So we're going to see the dot from the nail. Okay, so you guys, I've got a blue hand. Okay, so this is a little scary. So I'm using my painted hand, and again, this would be good with adult supervision and some help here. And on my paper, I'm going to set it down to do this, but I'm going to put my hand here on one side. Woo! And I'm going to lift it up. Okay, so that's what I get first, but then I'm going to close the paper. Boop, and I'm going to press it down, rub it, and then I'm going to open it back up. So this is where extra hands help. Open it back up. Woo! Yeah. And then, like I said, when it dries, you can add your dot in the middle. Or you could use some red paint. These are Jesus's hands. And same thing. I want you to add your message. So stop doubting, believe. Or the other message ideas are blessed are those who believe in me without seeing, or believe without seeing me. Or Thomas's words, my Lord, my God. So that's all for today, you guys. I have blue paint on my hand, but I am putting down in the comments below a couple different things for you today. So there's this beautifully melodic or harmonious song. I really don't know the word, but I love the way it sounds. So I've put a link to that, and it's called Thomas's Song, and it's sung from Thomas's place of doubt and questioning, and moves into his believing. And so that will be below. Some of the comments on the song were like, "Oh, this isn't a good song because, you know, he's not being faithful." But don't we all have times where we're in doubt, right? So no, it's a beautiful song, and it acknowledges our doubt and takes us to our through our doubt to our belief, right? Also, because Mother's Day, I have discovered this awesome website called Doodle Art Alley. And this fantastic artist, Samantha Tustison Snyder, makes these beautiful coloring pages on her Doodle Art Alley websites. And she's got several of them that branch off, because there's a religious one, there's a teacher's one, you know, there's a bunch of them. So I'm going to put in the comments below the link to her Mother's Day coloring pages, so that if you're behind on recognizing Mother's Day, you just print one of those out, color it up real nice. That will make mom feel awesome. And if you don't have a mom in your home, you can acknowledge those that fill that role. That's a-okay on Mother's Day. And make sure that you're giving that person lots of hugs and love and helping out around the house today. And then finally, in the comments below, I'm going to post 2 links to a site called pursuegod.com or the YouTube channel is called Pursue God. These are two little youth ministry videos put on by youth. One's more run by some young boys. The others run by some young girls. And it's the same story and the same message about Thomas. So one's about 3 minutes and 7 seconds long, and the other's 2 minutes and 50 seconds long. So very small snippets that cover the same thing, but coming from a youth voice. And so maybe those will be cool, and you'll connect to those as well. That's all for today. I will see you next Sunday. I believe it will be the 17th. And God bless you and keep you this week. I love you all. See you next Sunday.